All right, so I'm going to get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone that has joined us today. This session is being recorded, so if you're unwilling or unable to be part of the recording, please drop off. We're planning to go for about 30 to 40 minutes today. My name is Ismail Nalwala, and I'm the CEO of IoTap, based out of the DC metro area. My company, IoTap, is a Microsoft Cloud Services partner, and Work 365 is the application that we've developed on Dynamics CRM 365 for cloud services companies like us. All right, so we launched Work 365 earlier this year in March, and we've been working both with direct and indirect partners who are looking for a way to manage and scale their CSP business, their business in general, actually. I can see from the registrations in the audience for this session that we have a mix of existing users and some of you that are brand new to Work 365. So on the agenda today is to do a quick refresher of Work 365, and then I'm going to cover a usage scenario, some tips and tricks to get us some quick wins with the application. I will be doing some polls throughout the presentation, so I request your participation. This gives us some feedback that we're looking for to improve what we are doing. All right. It is World Cup season, and it has been a very strange World Cup for me, with the US not qualifying and a lot of surprise results. Group F results didn't go my way yesterday. As a result, as a Germany fan, I had a rough day yesterday and had to pick up, dust off, and continue to prep for today. So maybe if they had won, this webinar would have been even better. I think I have realigned now and rooting for Mexico and Sweden. And we'll get into what we really want to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is the CSP landscape. So as channel partners, we fall into one or more of these categories. We're VARs, ISVs, SIs, MSPs, and each of us as partners have a slightly different role or different model as we sell our services to our customers. We purchase these services through vendors, or what we call manufacturers in Work 365. These services or products are purchased from someone, either a distributor or directly from these manufacturers, and we call these providers. And on top of these services, we're looking to build IP through differentiated verticalized product offerings. We package them with our labor and services sometimes, and we provide them as value-added services. We create offers, self-service, and support services for our customers. And we will see how Work 365 enables you to implement and manage this entire life cycle and process. All right, so I'd like to do a quick poll just to get a sense of who we're working with as indirect or direct partners. I'm going to give it a quick 30 seconds. If you can please respond to the poll, and then I will close it up. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to close the poll here. I think I'll share the results. It's interesting that we have a significant number of partners here that are direct partners. This webinar is going to be a little bit targeted towards the indirect partners, but the direct partners will also get a lot of benefit out of it. I will now continue. All right, so for the benefit of the new partners on this call, I want to briefly talk about what is Work 365. Work 365 is a customer experience application for partners to run a successful CSP practice. It is built entirely on Dynamics 365 sales and customer service applications and includes these four major solution components: subscription management and invoicing, where you can create custom products and services. You can provide flexible terms for billing your customers, track provisioning, and license change quantities. There's a self-service piece This is built on dynamic CRM portals, which allows your customers to request licenses and manage their own subscriptions. There's a customer service piece, which we have enabled through our email to case automation, where you can manage tickets and incidents for your customers. And then we have the e-commerce and payments platform, which is a full-blown e-commerce system that allows you to not just provide self-service, but also sell and package products and services that you want to distribute to your customers, right? So another quick poll. If you could just respond here, we're trying to see how many of us on this call are using Dynamics and other systems. All right, this is interesting. All right, I'm going to close the poll here and share the results. It's fantastic, actually, that it looks like most of the partners here are using Dynamics, which is fantastic, because that means you can actually take advantage of Work 365 right away. All right. So let's talk about getting started with Work 365. There are 4 important steps or stages with implementing the solution, and I've listed them out here for you. The first step is usually the setup and installation step. For all those of you that have installed a solution in Dynamics, this step is pretty easy. It usually takes about 30 to 45 minutes to get the application installed if you've never done it before. I'm not bragging, but I can do this in about 10 or 15 minutes. So if you need help, please certainly reach back out to us. Once you're done with the installation, you can obviously start using the application. However, most partners will want to set up the historical data and relationships in the system, right? The system will replace your spreadsheets if you're using them right now. And this second step is the one that takes a little bit of time. Since most of us are working with customers in the CSP program, you will have existing relationships like billing contracts and subscriptions that you will want to set up. Now, once that is done in the system, the system starts to work for you, which is when you start to get to the operational and what we call the ongoing stages of reporting and reconciliation. Today, we'll focus a little bit on both of these areas, and we'll see if I can, I'll try to share some best practices and tips. So here are some of the important things to keep in mind to get through to the first stages, right? The solution file is available on the Yammer group. I've attached a screen clipping here on the top right on where to find it. We were not intentionally trying to hide them, but they can be confusing to find. So what you have to do is click on the All Network link, and you will see the Files tab in the blue menu. With that, you can download the solution and the instruction files. Now, once that is done, you need to create a user in your Office 365 tenant that is dedicated for Work 365. This is going to be a service or integration account. It should not be an actual user account. Once you import the solution, you will perform the get consent action, register the application, and this will automatically put you into a trial. Now, once the installation is done, you'll want to set up your manufacturers and providers. The providers are the distributors you're buying your services from, and you should still keep the manual provider and the do nothing provider in the system. You need to set up all the manufacturers you have, like Microsoft, yourself, and whatever other services you are actually selling to your end customers. Then finally, make sure you're assigning the roles to the users that will use the application. Currently, there's one role, but in the upcoming release, we're going to have multiple roles that are suited for the specific functions that we have in the organization, right? Now, once the application is set up, you can start to import the historical data. The best way to do this is through the Excel imports. We have templates that you can use. And once again, we can schedule a call to help you import this data into the system. This data can be, in the form of customer exports from your partner center, bills from your distributors, maybe spreadsheets that you're maintaining to track licenses and quantity changes. So we'll have to collect all this information that you have as historical data and import that. Now we can help you with these processes. Now, based on how you're currently managing this process, we will provide specific guidance. Some of you may have spreadsheets, some of you may have invoices, and we'll work through that. And once this is all set up, it's a good idea to make sure you verify all the data and even do a test invoice generation for one of your billing contracts. Then use the Work 365 dashboards to make sure it's looking correct. All your data will start to surface nicely. You will start to see charts and graphs for your monthly recurring business. And in our upcoming release, you will see a dashboard called the Billing Administrator Dashboard. And I will show you that a little bit later today. All right, so Work 365 is a customer experience platform and will be used by multiple people within your organization. It's not a sales tool at all or billing tool. So what I want to do right now is walk through the different roles we have and what they're likely to do using the application. All right, so we'll talk about the salesperson first. So salesperson will close an opportunity. Once that is done, they will need to create a billing contract. They will then need to renew billing contracts at some point. They'll create new subscriptions and possibly even update subscription quantities. All right, now let's move into the customer service role. This person in the company handles customer success, so they will ensure that the customer incidents are correctly tracked and managed. These can be cases created through the email to case automation solution. They will also assist with provisioning and ensure that the license requests have been fulfilled. All right. Then finally, we have the finance and accounting team. Now, finance and accounting is where this all culminates from a process standpoint. This is the ultimate user of the application in your organization. And this function is usually looking at billing, reporting, generally auditing the system. Finance will be the recipient of the reward you get for using the application correctly. Work 365 will save your finance team significant amounts of time and really give them the peace of mind, if the rest of the organization uses the application with all the change tracking and managing all the subscriptions. Now, finally, we have the customer that interacts with you. They receive these invoices, consume the services you provide, we request more services, and request for assistance. This is ultimately how we drive better customer experiences using Work 365. All right, so now what I'd like to do is talk about a practical scenario on how you can use Work 365 to set up a bundle and subscriptions. We're going to look at how we can set up a fixed price license type subscription using a usage-based subscription from Azure. All right, so here's the scenario. The customer has confirmed an order for 50 seats of a backup solution. This customer's name is A-Data. They already have a billing relationship with us for an Office 365 subscription. They want 50 seats of this backup product. We're going to price this service at $5 per user per month, and the service will use Azure to actually back up the solution. Now, Azure is a usage-based subscription, whereas your subscription to the end customer is a license-based subscription. So we'll walk through the process on how to do this. All right, so all those of you that were expecting to have some fun with me doing a live demonstration on this webinar, I'm sorry to disappoint you. After the Germany loss yesterday, I didn't want to take any chances, although I do have some great screenshots for you. So, sorry, I'm going to back up here. When I log into the application, I like to look at the Work 365 Manager dashboard. This gives me some great insights into really what's happening with the business. I then will navigate to the billing contracts in my Work 365 application. I can see a list of all my billing contracts here. Now I can find this billing contract that I want to work with either by going into the account form or going directly into the billing contracts and looking up this active list. I'm now reviewing the billing contract that I want to work with. I see that they already have existing subscriptions and I want to add a new subscription. All right, so I click on the new subscription form. It opens a subscription form, and notice this says usage-based subscription on the top left here. What I'm going to do now is before I enter any data, I want to switch the form type to a license-based subscription. I'm going to set up the initial subscription as a parent subscription and as the main billable subscription. So I look up the product from my product catalog. I find that I have the Sky Blue user backup already set up in my product catalog. All right, I've selected that item and the system automatically populates some of the fields like pricing, the subscription name. All I do at this point is enter the quantity. I've done that. The next step for me is to select the provider. Now, I will use the manual provider in this situation, and I'll explain that a little bit later. And I chose, I chose the manual provider because I want to initiate a provisioning process. And the reason I do this is because this is Sky Blue's product, and the service technicians will have to take some action in order to set up the customer's requests. I could have picked a do nothing provider as well, but I want to signal that there is a manual step required to enable the service for the customer, which is why I picked the manual provider. All right, now I'm going to navigate back out. I closed that subscription form. I'm going to navigate back to the billing contract, and I'm going to look at the subscriptions again. You can see that the Sky Blue user backup subscription is already set up. I now need to set up the Azure subscription. If any of you are wondering why there's a 50 user backup, it's because the sales guy did a great job when there are other 10 user licenses. So anyway. Now I'm going to add a new subscription. The form opens, and this time it's actually defaulted to the license-based subscription. I'm going to change the form to the usage-based subscription. Now I could look up this Azure subscription from my catalog, but for the purposes of this call, I'm going to assume that it's not in my catalog. So I'm going to type it in manually. I typed in the Azure backup subscription. I marked this subscription as a non-billable item because we don't want it to appear on the invoice. We want the invoice to only show the quantities of the parent subscription. Now, once this is done, we will have to provision the subscription with the provider. Once this Azure subscription is provisioned at the distributor, you can then copy the distributor's part number and any reference information into the provider details section right here. All right, I go back to the billing contract and see that all the subscriptions are created. All right, and we can do a quick check. The parent subscription seems to be set up correctly. Once it is actually provisioned, the customer service rep can update the provisioning status as provisioned. The child Azure subscription appears in the subgrid, so I know the relationship looks good. All right, so just to summarize what we did, we identified the billing contract. We created the child and parent subscriptions. We associated them with the relationship of the child and parent. We changed the provisioning status. This is important, or it'll appear as an exception in your Work 365 Manager dashboard as a pending task. The system supports license-based subscriptions, usage-based subscriptions, and service-type subscriptions. So we could have bundled a service subscription as well with this service offering to the customer. Now for Azure subscriptions, you will receive a usage file from your provider. You can upload this file into the Work 365 application to get the billing information, usage billing information. All right. Now in our upcoming release, in addition to some of the feature enhancements, we will also include this billing administrator dashboard. This dashboard will surface important exceptions and also provide an overall view of what to expect and what has occurred in the past, right? The first tile tells me that there's a subscription that needs attention. This could be because it is missing pricing information or it's orphaned for some reason. The second tile tells me quickly that we have to action a renewal. Then I can look at the cash collection activities for the invoices that are not paid. Sky Blue's customers are obviously not paying on time, and we have a lot of outstandings. Then you will be able to see what your invoicing and monthly billing outlook is for the next 30 days. This is great for the finance team to know what they have to plan for and what the expected invoice amounts will be from a monthly basis. Then in the bottom, you see that we have invoicing and monthly billing, billing contracts and invoices that were generated over the last several months as a trend, right? All right, I'm gonna request another quick poll. So Work 365 is used by both direct and indirect partners. For direct partners, we have integration with the Partner Center, and we want to build out integration for indirect partners into the Partner Center as well. I'd like to do a quick poll to know how many indirect partners are using the two-tier Partner Center to manage this relationship. Thank you very much. I'm just waiting for the rest of the feedback to come through. All right, we'll give it another 5 or 10 seconds. All right, I'm going to close this poll and share this. This is interesting. So it looks like most people voted no, and I'm wondering if the yes was from the direct partners, but we'll have to probably do this again at some point. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to hide this poll. All right, so we're getting into the final stretch here, and I want to summarize with some tips and best practices for partners that are starting out and those that are already using it, and ask us very difficult questions. So first thing, make sure you're using a dedicated user for the Work 365 service account. We have had instances where partners using their own credentials, and then because of a password change, things stopped working. Right? Please configure the invoice template. This is another document that you can download from the Yammer site under the files area. Use the Excel templates to do your data preparation and imports. You can customize the account form to add both the subscription and the billing contracts to the account form. This way, when you look at an account form, you know right away what your customer relationship looks like. Actually, sorry, I'm going to go back there. Yeah, and finally, I'd say it's most people don't use the product catalog, but we found it very helpful, especially with subscriptions, as you can start to use that to avoid errors when people are creating new subscriptions. You can set up product bundles that will automatically set up the child and parent subscription. So this has been a great feature and useful thing for us. And when I talk to partners, I recommend that they do this. If they were not using it in the quotes, this is a good time to start using the product catalog. Now, as you start using the application and want to grow the adoption, I have these specific recommendations, right? So use the dashboards. I set them up as my default dashboards now because this is my main focus, to drive more billing contracts and more subscriptions. It gives us an overall view of what's happening on the sales, service, and in the finance functions. Set up your Azure import process. There's a lot of data in CRM, and you can use CRM's native capabilities to create any sort of views that you want for the entities that you receive through the Work 365 application. It's possible to create notifications for any of these events that take place within your organization. Say you wanted to set up a separate notification for a subscription addition or a subscription change, you can do that through the native capabilities of CRM. If you need some help with some of these things, we can certainly talk about that. It's important to set up some naming conventions for billing contracts and subscriptions. And eventually, once you start getting comfortable and have invoices generated, you'll want to integrate with your accounting system. So please don't hesitate to reach us about that. There are things we're working through right now to make that possible. All right. Now, one final poll. This is promised the last one, so if you don't mind, just watch this one. I just want to get a sense of how we all feel about, what we're trying to do with Work 365 and the CSP business. Hopefully after this session, it's a little bit better. Okay, so I'm getting some good results here. We'll give it another 5 or 10 seconds. All right, I'm going to close this poll, and it looks like we have some interesting spread across the audience here. Some of us are feeling very good, and some of us are still kind of figuring things out. So, we're hoping that these sessions and this conversation helps with this confidence that you need to have with the CSP side of things. And we're here to help. All right. Final remarks and some call to actions. I've already talked about the Yammer group many times. The recordings for the past webinars are now both on the Yammer site, and they're available also on our website at work365apps.com. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to set up and install the application, so please don't hesitate to email me and we can get you going. Inspire is around the corner. If you're attending, we want to meet in person, and we'd love to schedule some time to do this. Now, we're going to be putting out a new release. It's likely to be available around the 3rd week of July after we return from Inspire. This will have some of the new features we talked about right now and some lot of other exciting things too. So with that, I'm going to now open it up for questions. So if you want to use the questions panel, please don't hesitate to type your question in there, and I can. All right, looks like I already have some questions. Right, so one question is, does Work 365 import the billing contract from the Partner Center? So the answer to that is no. It's unable to import the billing contract because the billing contract is the specific relationship you have with your customer. There's no way for the application to know things like the discounts that you have or the terms around the length of the relationship. So the billing contract does have to be set up. It can be imported though. So if you use an Excel spreadsheet to input all your billing contract information, it can be easily imported. Pricing. So I'm getting some questions around pricing. I can certainly talk to you one-on-one. The pricing is not based on revenue. It's based on usage. It's based on how many billing contracts you have in the system. So you may have one or more billing contracts with a customer. Usually it's one billing contract per customer. So it doesn't matter how many subscriptions you have. We don't charge by the number of subscriptions or the revenue per billing contract. It's a fixed flat fee per billing contract. Where can we find the mapping information as far as which fields in the product catalog should be populated? That's a great question. We will help with that specifically, or put out a documentation for you to use. It's not hard to do that. There's only a few specific fields that get used from the product catalog. So we can certainly put something out there for those that want to use the product catalog. That's great. Yes, that's another great question. Which field do we use to store the Microsoft accounts queue? I'm going to navigate back here because I think people can still see my screen. I will go back into my presentation here. See, if I was doing a live demo, this would be much harder. So this is where you use the part number is where you would actually specify that. The Microsoft SKU would go into the part number. All right, great. Anything else? Any other questions? All right, we're right at 30 minutes. I'll give it another minute or so, and then we'll close the presentation. Any more questions? All right, thank you very much, everybody. Okay, one moment. I'm getting one more question. I'll hold on. Okay. Um, okay. Is it possible to import the purchase licenses from my provider and then bill my customer on that? Um, Yes, that's the whole idea of setting up the subscription. So what you would do is when you're setting up your system, you would get all the subscriptions that you have actually already purchased. Your new subscriptions would be set up the way I kind of showed you right now, where you would set them in Work 365 and then provision them with your distributor. If you already have existing subscriptions that you've purchased from your distributor, you would either get them through an Excel spreadsheet or an import from them, or a bill or an invoice, and then you can use that to upload those subscriptions directly into Work 365. That's absolutely the way you would do it. Yep. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you again. I will stop this broadcast.